Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining. And today we have a fifth episode of Behind Procurement podcast. Thank you so much for joining. My name is Natalie Eksi. I'm happy to be here with you. I'm CEO at APSentra, and as I already say, my mission is to consolidate supply chain and procurement expert globally. Today we are going to have an interesting topic, and it's our topic is why procurement's numbers don't survive financial scrutiny. Why does it happen? And what we are going to discuss, what is the drama between procurement and financial team or finance? So what is the drama? And drama usually happens when two parties are misaligned in terms of communication, in terms of data, in terms of vocabulary, and in terms of information and expectations. So today we are going to have two nice experts who are going to help us discover how can we eliminate this drama from business environment. I do have right to use this vocabulary drama since today's podcast is done actually in Rome city where drama was developed as we know it right now. So let's discuss it. Let me bring two great experts to discuss this topic. And first one is Cheryl Jeffrey. She is owner of Lace Consulting Group and supply chain and procurement expert with over 30 years of experience in digital transformation, cost optimization, and operational performance improvement. She is known for stepping into broken and chaotic initiatives and turning them into high-performing, financially aligned operations. With deep expertise across ERP system, AI-driven analytics, procurement strategy, and third-party risk management, Cheryl helps organizations build processes and numbers that actually withstand financial scrutiny. So Cheryl, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for helping us eliminate this drama from relationship between finance and procurement teams. Thanks for joining.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks again. You look great. You look fantastic. And let me introduce our second speaker. And second guest is Mauricio Dezen. He is pragmatic, result-oriented executive with over 25 years of cross-industry expertise, accelerating operational performance and driving scalable growth. He brings a distinguished track record of leading complex supply chain and procurement platform implementations across diverse industries and organizational landscapes, navigating very degrees of complexity with precision and strategic clarity. Grounded in solid financial foundation, Mauricio consistently champions data-driven decision-making that balance top-line growth with bottom-line discipline. Top-line growth, bottom-line discipline. I love this poetry actually here. So welcome, Mauricio. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Natalie. Thanks, Sherry, for joining us as well.
Thank you, guys. As I already mentioned, today we're going to discuss this drama between procurement and finance. And to start, I usually prefer starting with numbers. And first thing we're going to discuss today is poll. About a week, I had this question on my LinkedIn profile. The question is, what is the biggest reason procurement numbers lose credibility with finance? Okay. We had four possible answers. First is data differs across systems, commitment spend not visible, manual spreadsheet reporting, and no shared savings baseline. And most of experts in procurement answer that data differs across system is main reason why we don't have this alignment between finance and procurement. Very interesting is also manual spreadsheet reporting. I think that those two are very, very, very close to each other. Actually, all reasons are important. But again, most of experts have responded about different data. So ladies first, Cheryl, how can you comment on this one?
Well, the information does scream loudly. Like you said, Natalie, the two kind of really go together. If the data, so, finance looks at the general ledger, they're looking at the financial reporting, and procurement isn't, right? Most of the time, procurement people, if they're in an ERP system or a procurement platform, they don't even have access to looking at that information. So procurement's looking at forecast, they're looking at supplier segmentation and categories, they're looking at cost savings and cost reduction. So they're looking at two different sets of data. Finance is looking at one set, procurement is looking at the other. If they are not aligned, then they're not on the same track to being able to understand the true benefits of the cost savings that go with finance and with procurement. Spreadsheets. As a master buyer for a long time ago, I would pull all my data out, I put it in spreadsheets, I analyze it, I do all of my analytical work, and then get back into my ERP system to do it. Spreadsheets are used heavily in a lot of companies like that, including finance. So yes, they definitely go together. And if they're not working together, they're not working on the same page.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. Thanks. Maurizio, what about your perspective?
I will expand even more this concept about data points. The finance team, they are measuring a set of key KPIs, and in most cases, those KPIs, they don't match what procurement is actually evaluating performance. I'll give you a real example. How you CFO will evaluate the performance of a procurement team just deliver a 10% increase in technology components, chips and hard drives. From the market perspective, that procurement team, they are heroes. I was not long ago, I was working at a company, they closed the largest sales in history. They are like creating and manufacturing high profile technology equipment for healthcare. They closed one order via an ERP in Asia that was like 2 years of their normal sales. But when they went to the market, there are no chips, there are no RAM, there are no hard drives anymore. And the ones they could find was like 300% over. So the market itself, the baseline, the CFO don't look at that. The CFO look at the number, why our cost of goods sold are increasing. But if the parts and components just increased 300, 400%, and the procurement team did a terrific job, an amazing job of negotiating on finding different suppliers, that effort does not materialize into the balance sheet. So you need to have something, a common view, an alignment of savings that are shared within the whole organization.
Interesting. And thank you so much for sharing this real example, right? Because if you're just saying misaligned data, okay, it is very generic, right? It's on very top level. But when you explain real case, when you explain price increase, superheroes in procurement, and lack of visibility in finance, this is actually where we see this drama. And in such case, let me just move forward. Let me escalate a little bit. What can save those two departments from being misaligned? So sorry, it was question to you. So what can save two departments from this misalignment?
Cheryl, do you want to go first?
It doesn't matter, but I think we're on the same page, Maurizio, right? Me and you have the same kind of ideas. I mean, in my world, when I was running my company, and it was a very large aerospace and defense company, I brought all of the parties into the room, right? And some of the things that we looked at, so procurement is not just procurement, the buyers. Procurement is your maintenance guy, it's your IT guy, it's all of your other departments that are working in that procurement role. Procurement, in some cases, the buyers don't even know what the maintenance team is buying and negotiating with their own suppliers. And that's going to hit the general ledger on the finance side, but procurement won't know that. So it's really important to bring all parties in, including the parties that you don't know, because hidden down below is a lot more third-party suppliers. You've got your HVAC guys coming in. So there's a lot of procurement going on outside of just buying raw goods. So therefore, then you need to bring all of those people into the room and have these discussions so that they all can be on that same page of looking at truly those cost savings like Mauricio brought up in his last example.
Let me add even more. Legal team should also be involved.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
documents. Yes, totally agree. So let's move on. Let's continue this discussion. Every time we prepare some articles from Ernst & Young or Deloitte with some researchers just to show trends on the market, what experts say about this topic. And today I want to discuss with you article published by Deloitte, and it was based on huge research made by Deloitte specialist in 2024 about about chief procurement officers, how they see situation on the market right now and how they're going to deploy generative AI. So let's move on. And what I would like to ask actually is it's about 92%. So as we see here in this research, let's speak about data quality and AI adoption. About 92% of chief procurement officers are beginning to envision the possibilities of new technology adoptions. So Cheryl, can you say that this is actually what you see last year, this year happening on the market, speaking about your customers?
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, over the last probably 18 months, solid 18 months, I've had a lot of conversations with my clients that they want to be AI. They want to have some sort of AI software. And when we get into the conversations, even with an ERP system, a procurement platform, whatever software you're putting in, there has to be a lot of discussion about the data integrity. I always say, AI is going to only make your problem show bigger. It's not going to solve the problem. It's just going to show that you've got issues with your data. And I really work with my clients on, especially in the ERP world, that you've got to be able to set those settings so the data is accurate, validating your lead times, ensuring your cost is correct, and all of your standards, and all of that data that needs to be in the system needs to be validated and governed. It can't just be input and then not have anybody looking at it, because then AI is going to take that data and it's just going to calculate whatever it needs to, but the information is wrong. So, that is the biggest thing that I always work with my clients. And a lot of the young IT guys want to come in and go, let's throw AI in our ERP system or do some sort of AI. And I always have to step back and go, let me look into your software first. Let me check your data. Because if, the old saying is garbage in is garbage out. And it's true. And AI is not going to solve the garbage.
It's going to magnify everything you have.
Totally, right?
Totally agree. So actually, Mauricio, this is your favorite. So Mauricio is usually responsible for AI implementations if you're speaking about procurement, and so actually you are a person who can speak about it as well. Let's discuss, in such case, content management in procurement. Okay, This is also very important. And if you're speaking about content management, I'm talking about catalog items, units of measure, and supplier information, transactional data, everything actually which is content created by procurement and content procurement used for operations. So Maurizio, comment here, please, how AI can help, or what kind of operations, what kind of actions we should do before we feed this content to AI.
I'm gonna borrow one of the Cheryl's comments later. Was brilliant about maintenance items, for instance. You must define. You have to have a blueprint of what's important, what is tactical, what is strategic, what is operational to organize your data points for an effective AI procurement system. Just throwing everything you have inside a new system is not going to resolve anything, because you're going to have a state-of-the-art AI platform in procurement, but your behavior is still an Excel-based, 30 years old procurement process. You need to change the mindset. AI is not a new ERP. ERPs, they organize data. AI is organizing data and making decisions for you. Is different, is a new protocol, is a new mindset. You need to be redesigning your data points, redesigning things is critical. I mean, to Cheryl's point, should I don't know, some kind of cleaning products have the same type of controls as something critical as hard drives for a technology company, they will be treated by the system similarly, but the decision process should be different. So designing this blueprint of parts and components, or even services, we are talking a lot about parts and components. I don't want to sound that this conversation is only for manufacturing. In my experience, you can only manage what you can see. And I developed this sentence working with intangible services for a long time in continental countries. So even services, banking, regulatory environments, healthcare, you need controls, and to have those controls, the correct data point should be listed. There's no point to have a cockpit with 800 or 1,000 KPIs in front of you. It's not humanly possible to generate that. However, the beautiful thing about AI is that you can have that in the background, but then you extract only what's relevant for you, because the AI properly implemented is going to be screaming at you, hey, here's the flashing light, do something about it. It's humanly impossible to have this kind of action reaction in real time like we have today in this AI era.
Can't agree more. Can't agree more. And Mauricio, your idea is always very, from one point of view, practical. From another, you always have this very theoretical also view, right? Like a conceptual, what is important, what is priorities. And this is why I'm happy to announce that we have one more article to discuss today. And co-author of this article is Mauricio. So let's discuss your ideas. We published this article just a couple of weeks ago. And it is again about procurement, why procurement area fails chief financial officer scrutiny. And while designing this article, we started with a question. And what is procurement area and why does finance measure it differently? And Mauricio, even though you're author of this article, but I want to ask this question to Cheryl. So ladies first.
I did read it, Maurizio.
There we go.
Very good article.
Feel free to criticize it. I'm good on receiving feedback.
No, it's very good. It's dead on if you think about it, right?
So what is your vision? Why do we have this again? Why do we have this gap between procurement ROI and finance vision, chief financial officer's vision? So if you can just give your perspective here.
So without taking up way too much time, this article definitely struck home. I mean, I've been in manufacturing for 35 years, and I've been doing, procurement and running my CEO company now for the last 8 years. And when I was a vice president, the CFO and I were tied at the hip. We had to be. I mean, I owned most of the P&L, but finance was responsible to ensure of the P&L, right? The balance sheets, the general ledgers, all of that. But 85% of that landed on me. So when we would get together, I'm driving cost savings. I'm looking at, like Mauricio said, right? I'm looking at a cost savings to going in, and I know that there's long lead times, 365 days to get a chip. And we have to have enough in stock because now we're working against a forecast that might not be right, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes sales providing that forecast, finance doesn't even scrub it. They're not even looking at the forecast at all. So now you've got sales developing forecast, you've got finance looking at the overall general ledger and the balance sheet, and you've got procurement trying to keep manufacturing running and the plant running, and they're trying to save money. So they're looking at, like I said in my beginning statement, they're so different. And when I sat down and sit in front of my CFO and the CEO and say, hey, trying to get steel in at the rate that we need to make the market, I've got to go out and hedge my numbers. So that's a bet that I got to put into place. Mm-hmm. And that means that's going to fall on your P&L, on your general ledger finance. So we had to have these conversations so that then I could trickle down my requirements down to my procurement team. But I did do like what Mauricio said. I brought in my maintenance guys. I brought in my IT guys. I brought in anybody that had the ability, the tiniest ability to create a PO had to be in the room. So therefore, then we could then talk about what those true ROIs are, because at the end of the day, it's all about profit and loss, making sure that we're making the money for the business, and we all have to be going in the same direction in our rowboat. And finance and procurement are always a drama. My procurement team used to always complain. Why? Because the finance AP person would be sitting at their desk saying, hey, how come this invoice isn't correct? Or how come you didn't receive these goods in? Or why did I get an NRE when that was never even discussed? Those are always where that drama, like you talked about, began, right? Because they're looking from two different areas. So understanding truly what the company's requirements are, those ROIs, those settings, those MBOs and the objectives, and then having everybody at the top, the finance, the purchasing people, all aligned, and then pushing those metrics down, and they'll all then be able to work off of the same standard. But more importantly, the data that everybody's using, and finance uses 90% of that data because it hits all of the reports. So they're the ones that are impacted the most. Planners that I've known and I've coached, sometimes they don't trust the data in the ERP system at all. So they're creating their own spreadsheets and they're doing their own thing when finance is looking at something else. So this is something that I experience with all the time. And I will pause. As you can tell, I'm passionate about that one.
I don't think that it's changing too much, right? Like we still have this drama, and until there is single platform where everyone can find same information, same language, I don't think it's gonna be solved. So in such case, let's speak about language a little bit. Let's speak about language, and I just wanted you, Maurizio, to comment on what chief financial officers say, what procurement reports, and actually how everyone can put it together, right? So we already have some kind of examples here, so please comment on them.
Yeah, I like this table because it reflects a lot of the misalignment between the finance teams and other teams as well with procurement, right? A couple of examples for you. Okay, the procurement team is celebrating, okay, we reduced the category cost by 12%. Or in my previous example, it just increased 10%, but the market increased 100% and we saved 90%. Well, that's not showing the balance sheet. But at the same time, it creates a lot of frustration, a lot of attrition inside the teams. I guess positioning procurement right is a great movement for every company. It really surprised me in the amount of companies, and Cheryl, probably you'll second that, how many companies see procurement as a service unit, a cost center, and in autopilot, right? But let's think about this for a second. Except for payroll, sales commission, and taxes, everything else that the company pays to operate, all the expenses run through procurement, everything else. So it's not a group of people in a little box somewhere in the company. It's strategic. You need to focus on that, but you need to talk the same language, right? Because I call the procurement teams the quiet winners. It's like the legal team. You only know that a legal team can do a terrific job with perfect contracts for 10 years. Nobody will know. They only when they fail and there's a problem, so everybody points fingers to them. Similarly, you hear about procurement in companies when there is a stock out, when there's a price increase, and all fingers are pointing to them. But you never know how they are performing. So having a common language to an automated platform. And also there's something else I want to comment, and I saw that by my experience. That's a beautiful thing about AI. Beside the technology, the human component. Companies put a lot of pressure in procurement, but they are stuck with very labor-intensive, purely operational tasks. I mean, creating a tender sometimes is a nightmare, and putting that tender inside an ERP is like those little 5 years old game. You're trying to put a star in a little circle in those plastic toys. It's almost the same. It takes forever. So you are forcing those teams to spend most of their talent, most of their times in labor-intensive activities. They're not realistic anymore in this era, right? When you automate all of that via AI and AI support those decisions, you're bringing these teams to a tactical and strategic team. I have seen that. And I'm not that romantic, but it's beautiful to watch. The guys, they are doing like endless spreadsheets. Now are talking ahead of time. My example remains. If the procurement team of that company, I name it, I use an example a few minutes ago, had the time to see the market, it was everywhere. The AI data centers are eating every single electronic component on the planet. They should have planned for that. They should have looked to other suppliers and other sources before that nightmare happened, but they never had the time. They were too busy doing silly stuff and trying to prove to their CFO they are doing a good job.
Sad, actually, sad, right? But it's possible to change. It's possible to change. And again, so this is actually what Cheryl is doing right now, consulting her customers, right? Doing her best to provide this change that things can be different. Again, Mauricio, while you're doing implementations, implementing procurement solution. So again, this is what our team is doing. Before moving forward, actually, let's discuss one more thing. Let's discuss a successful case study. We have only 3 minutes left, so let's move to a case study. And I just want to show the real result, what can happen when everything is operated as efficient as possible, let me call it this way. So let's discuss one of our customer. It's National Oil Pipeline Operator, which is unifying procurement across 260 users with different geographies. And let me tell you a little bit about this customer. So first of all, as I already mentioned, 260 users operating procurement. And it's not only procurement, it's a financial team, legal team. And what is interesting, what is the most difficult? If we're speaking about national provider of oil pipeline, we are speaking about very wide geography at the same time, right? And of course, integration with ERP. In this case, it's SAP, very, very popular one. So let's speak a little bit about their problems and challenges they had before implementing solution. First of all, it's no unified procurement platform. So just imagine 260 users working without single platform, a lot of spreadsheets, a lot of emails, a lot of phone calls, a lot of messages in different messengers, right? What was also a very big challenge. Annual procurement plans and budgets commitments managed in isolation from SAP. So SAP as ERP was there, but it was not connected to procurement operations. This is happening all the time, very often, unfortunately. Purchase request, a process without standards. And right now, imagine 260 people, procurement, no standards, huge company. Contracts, we already mentioned today, right? That legal team should be involved on daily basis in all operation. Again, I'm not talking about working all the time, but visibility is crucial, reporting crucial. So let's speak about results. What can companies have when we have right implementation, when we have right platform? So let's speak about key results. Unified control, enterprise scale procurement under unified control, integration with ERP, it's very important, budget control, standardized workflow across regions, consolidated analytics without manual effort. So this is actually all problems which we discussed, we can solve them by providing right solution. So probably last question for today for both of you, so Cheryl and Mauricio, and of course, ladies first. How important is visibility and process unification if you're speaking about 260 procurement users?
Yeah, I mean, it's extremely important, right? And they're not a typical manufacturing company either. They're oil and gas, they're energy, so they're not making a widget. So it becomes even a lot more complex. And if you spread out globally, and I'm a super user in SAP, I know that system very well. and I know the weaknesses within those, any ERP system for that matter, is the procurement side of being able to capture all of that data, like you said, contracts, and being able to look at all of those contracts and SLAs, and where are you at with those. So it's extremely important to first understand the whole business, right? So if I was going in there, I'd assess the business and map it all out and do a good understanding of the roadmap, and then fill those gaps in with software. So it's extremely important because you have to be all living and breathing off of one sheet of music. That one sheet of music has to be the source of truth in order for the organization to run more effectively. So having that platform that you guys put in helped extenuate that source of truth, so everybody was working off of the same sheet of music.
Thank
And
you
I'll
so
let Mauricio add.
Yeah, Cheryl, this moment you mentioned about stopping everything and looking at the blueprint of the company before doing. I call this the don't touch the keyboard phase. Don't
Yeah,
start implementing anything. Stay away. Let's discuss the business first. We do that in our implementations as well, and it's proved to be extremely efficient. But my point is, I don't want our attendees to think that Sharon and I, or even Natalie, we are against the CFO. Sometimes they are the victims of this. Look at this business case. Can you imagine 260 people, even if they're organizing groups of 10 in multiple regions, like you have 26 different reports about performance? The CFO is going to say, I cannot digest that, and just going to look back to the financials. So integrating, combining this consolidation of data with the AI speed, never. I mean, for me, what the market's not seeing about the AI is the reaction time. We live we supply chain lived in a honeymoon with globalization. Everything was stable. China was cheap. Mexican factories, everything was fine. But now it's completely upside down. We have reshoring from Asia, tariffs everywhere, wars, two generations, Gen Z and Gen X, with completely different behaviors in terms of consuming products and goods. So everything is changing. And it's the old trick in the book. The less visibility you have, the more buffers you need, the more working
that's right.
capital you need. So automating and creating a ways of summarizing all the complexity of a procurement process into something that can react quickly and get your team to the tactical strategic levels that I'm sure everybody desperately needs these days is a no-brainer. It has to be done.
Yeah, and real quick, not to bring up, in my entire adult life, the weakest link in your supply chain is your weakest supplier, and you don't know who that supplier is yet. I mean, I've experienced a third-party supplier in the automotive, which is where I do a lot of consulting on right now, and they had somebody ended up hacking their email and then ended up getting in to my client's email and data service. So they ended up losing so much money and having so much financial impact, because why? The procurement team didn't think to go all the way down to that level of the supply chain and validate risk. One of the popular things that I'm doing right now in consulting is risk management, because it is part of the stuff that Mauricio and I are talking about. You also have to have a strong understanding in your third-party risk management software systems as well. And there's no real good things in the ERP. SAP won't be able to do that. So you need to be able to make sure that your AI, and this is where I think AI is going to be extremely important, is to help in understanding what that risk looks like, and then being able to put countermeasures into place before it even happens.
Can't agree more. Can't agree more. Yes, it's important. It's totally important. And hopefully this is something that will help us to reduce drama between those departments actually across the company. Cheryl, Maurizio, thank you so much for joining. I think it was fantastic conversation today. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did, because I did enjoy. Again, since my work with you guys is actually what Italians call dolce vita. I really enjoyed. So thank you again for joining us. for our audience, please visit our website, read our articles. We do our best to put all these best ideas and best practices to articles to share with you. Follow us on LinkedIn, subscribe to YouTube, and I can promise that we will have more interesting podcasts with Cheryl, with Mauricio. I promise for you, but I hope that you support me. So talk to you again soon. And thank you again for joining. It was fantastic. Appreciate.
Thank you, Natalie. Thank you, Mauricio. It was a pleasure talking with you on this subject. So I really enjoyed it.
Same here, Cheryl. It was a pleasure. I love your enthusiasm. I share the same one.
Yeah.
Thank you, Natalie, for inviting us.
Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you.